I want to say quickly, we've got obviously Dr. David Cartland coming in now. There's a BBC programme tonight about the jabbed, where they put a pile of unjabbed people into a house.
Is that tonight? It starts tonight.
It is tonight. And what's interesting, look out for the name Adam Finn, who is very much involved in that programme. They take the unjabbed to see him. Well, Adam Finn, it should be pointed out, actually from the professor of paediatrics at Bristol. And as obviously, and not obviously, but paediatrics at Bristol has benefited substantially from Pfizer, £4.6 million to be precise. So I doubt the BBC will tell you that. Good morning, Dr. David Cartland, rebel with a cause.
Good morning, Sonia. Pleasure as always.
Pleasure.
Hi, mate, how you doing?
I'm all right. I've got a bit of man flu, just to warn you. I did warn Sonia. I've lost my voice yesterday, so. But luckily, Sean, I'm double jabbed. Imagine how bad it could have been if I wasn't.
Oh, mate, you'd have been brown bread, mate.
yeah.
You're back on Twitter today. Can't believe it.
Yeah,
that's extraordinary. You were banned.
I've been banned from everywhere, Sonia. Not only in the coffee room at most places that I work, in hospital staff rooms, but pretty much everywhere. To cut a long story short, similar to Tony, I've just watched the interview. Tony, a lot of it rings true.
Yeah, it's banned too.
A qualified person, 15 years experience of postgraduate, like working as a doctor, 10 years of training, first degree in immunology, virology, but unable to post scientific evidence. And this misinformation is just, it's a label that they stick on, and they'll constantly challenge. We'll point out the specific misinformation. We can debate that point.
Well, the description they use for you, like you pointed out, is slanderous. When they say about that, I mean, the description that comes down when you put your name, it's terrible, horrendous.
Yeah, on Instagram, there's a little banner that pops up saying this is a doctor, or words to the effect of this is a doctor, that is continuously spewing out misinformation. I'm paraphrasing slightly, but slandering. If you did that about a work colleague, you'd be up before the employment lawyers, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you would.
Of course you would.
I saw a tweet yesterday, sorry, Sonia, and it said 97% of scientists are paid and 3% are censored.
I saw that. I love that. I retweeted that. I completely agree. Censorship is a real issue here, though, David, isn't it? And you've been on the receiving end. The 77th Brigade definitely exists. We know that.
I thought it was a load of nonsense, but there are. I'm not going to name names because I don't want to sort of open up litigation against myself, but they're very well known on the Twitter circuit. If you say anything against the sort of vaxaholic narrative, then you're kind of in there. You get set upon by a whole group of them, and they're very rude, they're very offensive. You try, I've had a warning this morning. I've had a DM sent me on Twitter saying, and it's something called a remover of pure bloods or something. He's sent me a threatening tweet, or threatening message saying, if you don't close down your account, there will be consequences, etc. And you'll have legal action, but I'm so scared.
Twitter is a different beast. It really is.
It is a cesspit, to be honest.
It is a cesspit.
It is a cesspit, I agree. But, I'm not going to say that Facebook are any better. I'm on my second back-to-back 30-day ban for posting. Actually, those two were the worst bans I've had. One was a BMJ article, and the prior 30-day ban was a Lancet article that I'd put on Facebook. So that's 60 days in Facebook jail. Instagram, like I say, I've got that shadow ban on me.
Yeah.
LinkedIn was for the incriminating interview that I did with you, Sonia, where I sat and I held up the documents and read them out on camera. Yeah. That one that did quite well. And, that's misinformation. So I've challenged LinkedIn. I've lost my appeal because, I don't know. They don't have to answer, do they? They just that's all my work connections. That's got knock-on effects with my,
it's deliberate, mate. It's deliberate. What they want to do is isolate you, always round, right? 100% they want to isolate you. So you are back in the NHS, right? You went through the whole GMC situation. What happened there?
Yeah, so I got an email in April time. It ended up in my NHS junk mail, actually, from somebody from NHS England saying that there'd been a case heard against me. That was the first I'd heard of it. There'd been a sitting of the GMC. They ruled in favour of me as per the Sam White PJH law. The doctor's allowed to say what he wants on social media, essentially, although his views do not align with ours. But something like that, I haven't got the exact wording at the front of my mind, but then they decided to pass me on then to the performance advisory group and the responsible officer down here in Cornwall. So I sat about 2 weeks ago in front of a panel of very senior, very well decorated. A couple of them were very senior in the area. One of them runs doctors.net. And anyway, the whole rhetoric, they gave me the floor for 60 minutes. I wrote a brilliant piece, 3 pages with 15, 16 pages of references with a colleague, brilliant colleague that helped me with that. And I got to present that. I presented sort of Peter McCulloch style really to them for an hour. And at the very end, they just kept circling round on, how's your mental health, Dr. Cartland? You seem very obsessed by COVID all of a sudden. I said, well, I'm obsessed with patient safety. Yes, I'm obsessed with ethics and the Hippocratic Oath that I took.
Oh, they are cheeky.
Unlike a lot of others. And the end of it was they just kept going around and around and around. Are you managing to keep up to date with other areas of your medical practice aside from COVID?
And like the NHS, you mean?
It was just like this slur really after, trying to pin it on on my mental health. I've gone to see the doctor. Well, I've tried to get to see the doctor to have a chat because obviously it's quite stressful, all of this.
Yeah, and it is all consuming by design.
Well, all I've got, Sean, is text messages saying we sent you some antidepressants to the pharmacy. That's how as a GP, I've tried to contact my own GP, who then told me to send an e-consult. They're doing a lot of this remote consulting where you fill in a form, to which I got a message back saying essentially, we sent you some sertraline to the chemist, to which I responded back. I did give it a go, to be fair. And I said, they're not working. So they sent me back another text message saying, we sent you some more sertraline, higher dose and some sleeping tablets, and on you go. And then I was under the care of another practitioner health program type thing that they have for doctors in need, fallen soldiers, if you like. And again, they discharged me. As soon as I started talking about COVID, I remember the doctor put their hand up to the camera like this and said, look, you just keep going around on COVID all the time. And I said, yeah, but they're going for kids, they're going for pregnant women. Why are we not screaming out about that? They're not following basic medical ethics. She said, I'm sorry, we're going to have to discharge from the service, Dr. Cotton, go back to see your GP. I said, I tried that. And they just sent me antidepressants by text message. And this is a doctor.
If a doctor is going through this, I mean, so it's
Sonia, if I get a doctor with a verruca on my phone list, I'll do them the service as a fellow professional to call them, even if it's about a verruca.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Right. Instead of treat, but this is a big thing going on here. It's about ostracizing you. It's about setting you apart. And you've had
demoralizing.
Yes, exactly. 100% undermining who he is. Oh, wait, he's so focused on COVID. What you mean, like the NHS hasn't been?
Yeah, exactly.
And it's but obviously the whole mask thing. You have plenty to say about that. And again, you've been under the cosh, haven't you? You're back in the NHS.
I've got to be very, very careful about this next bit of the interview. I know we chatted about it on Friday, but obviously I'm still employed by the aforementioned.
100%.
So an employer that I've been working for, let's say, firstly I'll say I did a locum, so doctors work freelance. So I did a locum last Monday at a surgery, never saw a mask. In fact, never saw a patient because they're still doing the whole telephone triage, 20 patients, one slot to see the unfortunate soul that crosses a certain threshold that needs to be seen, 1 out of 20. So every morning you have to do a magic trick whereby you turn 20 patients in need of an appointment into that one face-to-face, else you lose your lunchtime. That's the formula that you work to. Anyway, the point was that I didn't have to wear a mask that day. Turned up to work on Wednesday to, be careful, to my current employers, and saw the first patient, bearing in mind 30-degree heat, 31-degree heat, I think it was in the department. Saw my first patient, who incidentally was an 86-year-old lady who had sat for 6 hours, talk about health and safety, then set the scene, hadn't had a drink, hadn't had a sandwich, saw her, discharged her. They let me discharge her, she was breaching. That has financial consequences on the trust. Tap on the shoulder, pulled into the office. You need to put a mask on, it's mandatory as per Monday. I said, no, I don't. I said, firstly, aside from anything else, it's 30-degree heat, you wouldn't make your dog wear a mask in this heat. And she said, I'm sorry, it's mandatory. I said, well, mandatory based upon what? What law? What evidence? Can you show that me? And she just kept repeating the usual policy, it's policy, it's policy. I went, well, what are you going to do to me? She said, well, you're going to have to leave if you're choosing to not wear a mask, you need to leave the department and not see any more patients because the risk you pose. Now, bearing in mind, Sonia, we have to do three tests a week or 2 tests a week, sorry. And I've done a test that morning, which said I was negative. So the response I've had to that from my boss is that might be a false negative. So if we're not trusting the tests that are negative, then why are we testing? So they blow holes.
This is farcical.
No. It gets better anyway. I was sent home from this shift, 6 hours left to go. And I said, well, what's going to happen to the 16 patients waiting? Because I'm the only doctor on for 3 hours. And they said, we're going to have to shut the department. 2 children, 6 and 8 weeks old, load of elderly infirm there, sitting looking flushed without water. And they're quoting health and safety of the mask whilst. And by the way, I told them, Sonia, that I was poorly. I get poorly. I mean, most people, when they've had a mask on anyway, you're breathing your own air and you get agitated, dizzy. Yeah. And if you do it in heat, you're not feeling tip top at the end of the shift. Anyway, I don't know if they shut the department in the end. The next day, I worked for the same trust, but in a different role, where I told them at the beginning of the shift I would not be wearing a mask and be breaching your trust policy. And I was allowed to work because it's a different risk profile. Now, the risk of these patients are homeless, street homeless. So these people have confirmed Paulies, they're sick, their immune systems aren't very good, but I'm okay to work in front of those. Went to go on shift on Friday. No, you can't work because you won't wear a mask. So a healthy doctor with COVID negative test result, doesn't want to wear a mask. And, the evidence, as Tony said, is...
This is important what you're saying, because obviously we as patients are being told there's a shortage of NHS medics. And this is what's going on within.
Sonia, in addition, the trust where I work is in critical incident at the moment. It's a critical incident. So the critical incident is they've got backed up ambulances, like you see Trellisk particularly, is, you never get down the queue of ambulances, and it's in critical incident. But the critical incident, they're allowed to send a doctor away from a 6-hour shift twice in a week who's fit, healthy, just wouldn't wear a face nappy. And that's it, And interestingly, they've just announced the heatwave policy. The heatwave policy that says that because of virus spread, they're banning fans in the trust. They're banning fans because, no word of a lie, because of spread of virus. So we've got to wear a mask in 30 degrees. They're banning fans. Oh, by the way, they're giving us a free tip top every shift, but don't exceed
free what?
Free the ice pops that you get.
Stop it!
No joke, I can send you all.
Stop it.
I'm not joking. You're allowed one free freeze pop per shift, but don't exceed that. I'm not joking. I mean,
it's really important what you're saying, because people need to know what's going on. And I really appreciate you being prepared to do this, because I know this can get you in trouble.
Yeah,
but this is the kind of stuff.
I've already had a friendly warning about I need to detach myself from any sort of mention of the trust that I work for, so it doesn't bring them into disrepute. But I've not mentioned the trust I work for.
And do you have to cut a hole in the mask to have the lollipop?
Yeah, you do, exactly.
Oh,
you just wear it around your mouth, and it's like 99% of people.
Unbelievable. Literally.
Sure, I've seen people on the beach down here in Cornwall with the masks on. It's that bad.
So luckily, there was a guy sat next to me in his car in Sainsbury's with his mask on, and the two girls I was with, Lauren actually, she just commented right there, and we started to get a bit. I could tell they were getting a bit annoyed with him, and then I was about to shout something as we were driving off, like, "Get your mask off in the car!" And I just thought, you need to seriously come at this a different way, Sean. And I just put my window down and I just said, "Excuse me, sir." And he was like typing on his phone with his mask on. He was like, "What?" And I said, "You do know that masks particles are much bigger than the virus particles, and you're actually starving your brain of oxygen right now." And he kind of looked at me, and I didn't know which way it was going to go. I thought he was going to kick off with me.
It's the ones that have got the chunky knitted ones around their mouth and not their nose. And with
luckily,
an umbrella up, and they've got an umbrella up above their head in the sun as well.
Yeah. Luckily, he just pulled it down. He just took it off. And then I was like, "Oh my God, that actually worked." And then he went back to texting his phone. It was like if I hadn't have said it, he would have kept his mask on. But just me literally popping in and saying, "You do know the masks don't work and you're starving your brain of oxygen," just snapped him out of something a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, not only do they not work, I think World Council for Health, Tess Laurie's group, have done an article about the harms of it. Yeah. And, people are reporting, 2/3 of people are reporting agitation, drowsiness. So if they really want a doctor to be drowsy while he's at work, irritable, nauseous and dizzy, which I've told them it does, now I've got to have a risk assessment individually, and I've got a damn good lawyer on the case. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, because surely it would make you make less compass mentis decisions.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Well, they'd rather shut a department down and send a doctor home. And,
oh my God, this is the ultimate. It really is. We'd love to continue this, David, but time doesn't allow us.
All right.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Really appreciate it. What you're doing is really brave, and it's an important service to let us know what's going on in there.
There is an awakening happening, believe me, amongst colleagues and doctors, just very privately. So I've said that before. There's a lot of doctors sort of tapping me on the shoulder. All I would say to them, if I can have the last 10 seconds, is, speak out. We're talking about the future generation here. What have you done for your children? What have you done for your patients? Speak out. It's not very nice, I'll be honest. I've come out the other end of it. They try and slur you. The GMC have never had a case against me.
Still not too late though.
It's never too late. Speak out and just remember your oath, as I keep saying.
Yeah.
Wonderful, everybody. Dr. David Cartland back on our screens and back in our NHS. Take good care of yourself, David.
While Twitter allows. Take care.
Take care. Bye.
Cheers.
Good to see him. Good to see him.